Hello Starshine, my name is Liz and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe and maybe check out my other social media as well. I'm on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. All relevant links are in the description below. Finally, before I begin my Simsational story, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done. But I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now I've gotten that over with. Let's go. Today's story is from Kalthis & Co. and we're at chapter 18. If you have not seen previous chapters and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though. So without further ado. Kalthis had once been a beautiful young sim with big dreams of social media stardom. But instead, somehow, she had now 7, count them, 7 children she'd never wanted. Her babies, named Kelsey, Kevin, Keith, Carissa, Kaylee, Kyle and Kylie, had ruined her body and ruined her life. Kellyanne's current fiancé, Kyle Harris, was the father of twins Kyle and Kylie, and although he was the richest man she'd ever dated, he sure wasn't perfect either. Kyle Sr. had anger and control issues, expecting Kellyanne to behave like the perfect Stepford wife and mother, which just wasn't who she was. If Kellyanne had wanted to be that person and that parent, she would have stayed in the sketchy apartment across town she'd been in when they met, still helping to raise the rabble of offspring she had already created. Instead, her eldest daughter Kelsey was in charge of that challenge, as she had been her whole life, really. Kelsey loved her little brothers and sisters with all her heart. They were all such amazing little people, and she thought of taking care of them as a privilege. Their mother had always seemed to be rather checked out of the chore she found her children to be, though, leaving Kelsey to pick up all the slack. So, Kellyanne's walking out on them months ago had made almost no difference to their lives. At least she wasn't alone in the struggle anymore. Kelsey and her boyfriend, Roman Peterson, had been together for a few months now, and he would often come over after school to help her with the kids and the housework. At first, Kelsey had been embarrassed by the state of her and her family's life, but Roman was so reassuring, kind and helpful about it all that she was able to let go of that shame. Roman really was the perfect boyfriend, or so it seemed anyway. He was a teacher's son. Mrs. Peterson had actually been Kelsey's 4th grade teacher, and as a result, he was very studious himself. He had big dreams of going to university and studying computer science or physics, or maybe even both, and he had promised to take Kelsey right along with him wherever he went in life. Kelsey knew that Roman meant what he said. He really did love her, and she loved him. It was as simple and beautiful as that, and so when Roman finally asked her if she was ready to take the next step, she didn't hesitate to say yes for a second. Roman was the love of her life, she was sure of it, and she wanted to do this with him just as much as he wanted to do it with her. This was the kind of moment and experience everyone dreamed of their first time being like. Neither Kelsey nor Roman had ever done anything like this before, and they definitely made some mistakes, fumbling about nervously with one another before finally finding their rhythm. But once they did, it was on like Donkey Kong. Like many young Sims before her, Kelsey found that after that first time, she and Roman got into the habit of spending the night together quite quickly. It didn't hurt that Kelsey was her own boss and had absolutely no adult supervision. At Roman's house, his mother was quite stern and strict on supervision. But at Kelsey's place, they could do what they wanted. It wasn't as if Kelsey's mother had any idea or care in the world what her eldest daughter was doing anyway. Kelsey had, however, seen on Social Bunny that her mother, whom had been pregnant, had finally given birth, and to twins this time. Having had a rather vicious fight with Kellyanne and her fiancé Kyle the last time she had seen them, Kelsey had doubts she would ever even meet her two new siblings. Kellyanne regretted the loss of her elder children's involvement now, but that was mostly because she was so lazy and uninterested in childcare herself. Looking after two newborn babies was insanely difficult, and having always previously pawned each fresh new baby off to Kelsey, Kellyanne was finding herself rather unprepared for the challenge facing her now. Things only got more difficult as the twins grew into demanding infants. Still taking after his father in so many ways, young Kyle was an intense little thing who took up a lot more effort than his much more calm sister Kylie, whose placid nature was the only blessing Kellyanne had found in this whole situation so far. Kyle Sr., on the other hand, was finding fatherhood to be filled with so many blessings and much unexpected beauty. Kyle had always had anger issues, and he'd worried before the babies were born that he wouldn't be able to handle the pressure and would lash out at them like he sometimes did at Kellyanne, but it wasn't like that at all. His babies brought out the best in him, and he felt his patience growing even as his heart had grown to accommodate all this newfound love. Kellyanne, sadly, could not relate to her fiancé's joy in parenthood. This whole thing was so much worse than she'd ever anticipated. Her only solace and comfort in this misery was the deliciousness of grilled cheese sandwiches, a favourite food of hers that had somehow, over the years, grown into a passion that bordered on aspirational. Kellyanne loved grilled cheese so much. She wanted to eat a grilled cheese in space and dreamed of talking to the Grim Reaper about them too one day. Aside from her beloved grilled cheese sandwiches, Kellyanne also comforted herself through parenting twins by continuing the affair with repairman Darnell Paris that she had begun during her pregnancy. Things between the two of them had begun to evolve. Darnell had confessed to Kellyanne that he had started to have feelings for her. It had all happened so quickly, and yet so slowly. When they'd first met, it had been 1000% casual and just a physical thing. But as the months had gone on, Darnell had found himself beginning to care more and more about this wild woman he'd somehow managed to meet. Darnell had never been a good guy, and he knew he had a drinking problem, but unlike Kyle, he also wasn't under any illusions about Kellyanne and who she was. He knew she'd drank during her pregnancy, and he didn't care. He loved her anyway. That's right, love. He loved her, and more than that, he wanted her to leave her fiancé and move in with him. Would she? And that brings us to the end of Chapter 18 of Kellyanne, Kalthis and Co. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. If you're a Sims player too and you'd like to download any of my characters to play for yourself, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. And hey, maybe think about sharing my channel with a friend. Or don't. It's your life. Anyway, bye.